Nezuko? 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 Nezuko!
Tanjiro?
Nezuko!
Tanjiro?
Nezuko!
Tanjiro?
Nezuko!
So in this video, I'm going to show you how to draw Tanjiro from Demon Slayer. He's definitely one of my favorite characters from the show, and I hope you enjoy. So I first started off by sketching the blueprint for Tanjiro's head and his arms. He's in this stance getting ready to fight and draw his sword. So for Tanjiro's head, I've drawn a circle as the base, and then one vertical line as the midsection, and then a horizontal line to suggest where his eyes will go. So we're starting with Tanjiro's forehead, curve it out, and when you go towards where his eyes are going to be, start curving it in. Curve it back out a little below that where his cheek is, and then it'll go straight down to his chin. Next, we're moving on to Tanjiro's eyes. I'm starting with his right eye first, which is going to be slightly smaller than his left one since it's further away. His eyes are quite angular, and since he's making a sort of angry expression in this drawing, they are going to lean towards his nose. His pupil is pretty round and big. His bottom eyelid is almost two lines coming together to point downwards. I'm moving on to his left eye now. Again, just like the other one, it's pretty angular and slanting towards his nose. Also above his eye, there's going to be a parallel line there, and that's the double eyelid crease, and he has them on both of his eyes. Now I'm going to start adding the details inside of his eyes, and I drew this sort of wrong because I went back and I actually looked at Tanjiro's eyes, and I realized that the shine on his eyes is actually right in the middle. It almost acts like his dark spot. So I'll be going back and correcting his eyes later. Tanjiro's nose is pretty simple. There's just going to be two nostrils, and they're going to be on both sides of that vertical line. And also add in a few lines as a shading above his nose. So for his mouth, I chose to have him have an open mouth, but only showing his teeth. So I'm drawing that curved line right below his nose, and then two lines straight down from that to connect with another curved line that's parallel to the one on top. And to signify his teeth, draw two lines coming from both sides of the mouth, but don't connect them. So the front part of his eyebrow is going to start really down where his eye is, and then it's going to go up, almost like a check mark. And this is to suggest that he is in a angry / serious mood. And in front of that eyebrow, I'm also adding another curved line, and that's sort of that skin wrinkle that's being created because he's furrowing his eyebrows. And then I'm going to also draw another eyebrow on his right side, and that's going to be slightly shorter but pretty identical to his other one. Next, we're moving on to his hair, and I drew a line to indicate where his hairline is. Tanjiro's hair is slicked back, and it's also pretty curly and sort of tousled. And an interesting thing about Tanjiro's hair, and also a lot of the other Demon Slayer characters' hair, is that it's quite jagged and not very smooth. So I'm drawing a series of jagged lines and edges just to indicate his hair, and they're all going to start pretty close to that hairline. On the side of his face, there's also a hairpiece that comes down, kind of covering up the front of his ear. The hair gets closer to his neck. They're going to get smaller, so just draw a series of small pointy hair pieces. Moving on to his shoulder now, and he's wearing this big poofy kimono, so much of his arm shape is going to be covered up by a series of wrinkles created by that kimono, and I'm drawing them quite jagged because that's sort of the style that I see in Demon Slayer. End of his sleeve is going to almost like a wing move very far away from his body, and that's to suggest the movement that he's making by drawing his sword. The same thing with his other sleeve, make it fan out pretty far from his body, and this sleeve is going to be a little bit smaller than the other one since it's further away. On to Tanjiro's hand. His right hand is opened up to get ready to grip his sword, so you'll be able to see all 4 of his fingers. Inside of Tanjiro's kimono, he's wearing the Demon Slayer uniform, so I'm drawing the sleeve for that uniform. You can also see the sleeve of the uniform on his left arm, and then you're going to draw his thumb, but not the rest of his fingers as they are going to be underneath that sword. Moving on to his sword, the only part that you'll draw is the handle part, and that consists of a circle and then a very flat rectangular piece. Now that circular piece of the sword is almost like a wheel. It has lines that are coming out from the middle portion. For the handle, it's covered by fabric in a specific pattern, and you can create that pattern by drawing these diamonds that are forming a row. What I'm drawing next is the collar portion of his Demon Slayer uniform, and in the middle of that uniform going downwards is the sort of buttoned up part, so it's going to be a line that's going down and sort of zigzag it to suggest that it's being wrinkled. To the right of that line, you're going to draw 3 buttons evenly spaced apart. And then draw the edge of the left part of his kimono, just a line coming down next to the collar, and then draw a rectangle for the pocket of his uniform. Tanjiro is of course wearing his trademark earrings, and they're pretty simple to draw. They are just rectangles, and I'm drawing them sort of moving up to suggest the motion of his body. Now inside of Tanjiro's earring is looks like a hill and then a sun on top. So one mistake I made in this part of the sketch is I drew the sun too low. It actually almost touches it does touch the top of that earring, so that's something I'll fix later. But coming out of the sun are going to be a series of rays. I've gone ahead and drew 2 lines on his uniform on front of his body to suggest the wrinkles that are being created. And then below his hand, I'm drawing a curved line, and that's going to be his belt. And then go ahead and add a couple of details to his belt. Moving on to Tanjiro's pants now, and his pants, like his kimono, are very loose. So they're going to be drawn with a series of kind of jagged, loose lines. So there are quite a few lines on Tanjiro's pants, and that's because he has stripes on them. And I'm drawing them pretty irregular and jagged in random ways, and that's to suggest the wrinkle. Tanjiro's left leg is being bent in this pose, so it's going to be short. And again, Tanjiro's pants are quite baggy, which is why I drew it quite big. And you're also going to add the same stripes to his left leg. So now the initial sketch is complete. I'm going to go ahead and make that sketch layer a little more transparent, create a new layer to sketch the final piece on top. One tip for when you're drawing the final sketch is it's okay to make the line a little jagged, because that's sort of the style that you see in Demon Slayer. There's quite a few edges and a variety of thicknesses in the lines. One thing that I haven't added to the initial sketch yet is the checkerboard pattern of Tanjiro's kimono. I'm going to be adding that later towards the end. For Tanjiro's kimono pattern, you're just going to draw a series of lines sort of the same distance away from each other, and I'm drawing them sort of irregular because his kimono is being wrinkled. And then once you drew those lines, you're going to draw lines that are perpendicular to that to create the checkerboard pattern. Now to color Tanjiro's kimono, it's pretty simple. You're just going to follow a pattern of white, black. You can also choose to color in his pants and his uniform. They're both black, which is why I'm using white lines instead of black to outline the stripes and wrinkles. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed. If you'd like, feel free to subscribe or follow me on Instagram at cherryblossom_fantasy.